In this movie, I'll introduce you to the so-called advanced document settings. And the reason I say that is because they're not really any more advanced than anything we've seen so far. They just happen to reside in a part of the new document dialog box that goes by the name Advanced. So what I'm going to do here is go up to the File menu and again choose the New command, or press Control-N or Command-N on the Mac. And I'm going to change this spacing value to 1/3, let's say. And because I'm working in inches, Illustrator is just going to go ahead and convert that value to a decimal, 0.33 inches. But if you know anything about fractions, the real decimal features a repeating 3 that goes on and on forever. However, if I go ahead and switch over to points, it reconciles to a whole number of points, specifically 24. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and change the name to 8-Page Newsletter because I am going to go ahead and enter a total of 8 artboards. And now I'll go ahead and press the Tab key a few times to advance to the columns option here. And in addition to modifying the value, for example, I know I need 4 columns now, you can also just press the up arrow key in order to incrementally increase the value, or the down arrow key to incrementally reduce it. All right, now notice these options down here at the bottom of the dialog box. For one, you've got a Templates button. And when you click on it, that should take you to a predefined templates folder that Adobe has created for you in advance, at which point you can enter the folder and load any one of these documents. And I'll leave it to you to check them out, because frankly, they're of fairly limited utility. For my part, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel. And then, notice this advanced option right there. It has a triangle next to it. These are what's known as twirly triangles, because if you click on them, they go ahead and twirl in a different direction, and it expands the dialog box to show 4 new options, starting with color mode. If we click here, you can see we've got CMYK and RGB. These are the primary colors required to create every other color out there. CMYK are the primary colors of print, specifically cyan, magenta, yellow, and the key color black. Next, we have the primary colors for screen graphics, which are red, green, and blue. So basically, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black are inks that darken up as you add them together. And red, green, and blue are lights that make things brighter. And we'll be seeing lots more of them in the future. But for now, all you need to know is for a print document that's bound for commercial reproduction, that is, you're sending it out to a commercial print house, you want to go with CMYK. If you're creating a screen graphic, either for the web or for a device, then you're better off with RGB. I'm going to stick with CMYK for now. Next come the raster effects. Now, raster just means pixels. Anything that's going to get converted to pixels inside Illustrator. And the best examples of those are drop shadows or any other soft, blurry effect. And that's because things like drop shadows and glows don't lend themselves to vectors. So what this option allows you to do is specify the resolution of those effects. What I'm going to tell you is that regardless of whether you're creating a document for the screen or for print, your best setting is medium. And the reason is that this screen option is pretty outdated. Today's devices have resolutions upward of 200 pixels per inch, so way beyond that old 1984 standard of 72 pixels per inch. But if you go too high with your raster effects, then you're really going to slow Illustrator down. And so what medium does is it strikes a happy balance, and it keeps Illustrator running smoothly. Next, we have the preview mode. Now, if you're creating a screen graphic, once again, for the web or for a device, you may want to go with the pixel preview, which is going to show you how your artwork is going to render out to pixels. We also have overprint, which is useful if you're printing, say, cyan ink on top of magenta ink, and you want to watch the two blend together. But 99% of the time, you'll just leave the set to default because you can always change your mind later by selecting a setting from the View menu, as we'll see in the future. Finally, we have this option right there, Align New Objects to Pixel Grid. If you turn it on, then any perpendicular lines, so think about the edges of a rectangle, are going to align exactly with the pixel grid, so you don't get any weird soft edges. That's only going to be useful to you if you're creating a screen graphic. If you're creating a graphic that's intended for print, then you want to turn this checkbox off. Now, this may all seem pretty technical, which is why it's hidden in this little advanced area. If you don't want to see these options, you can just click the triangle again to twirl this area closed. And yet you'll still see all of your settings listed. So I know my color mode is CMYK, my resolution for my raster effects, such as drop shadows, is 150 pixels per inch, and the align to pixel grid option is turned off. Notice also that when you switch the profile from, say, print to web, you're going to automatically change these settings. So as soon as I select web, my color mode changes to RGB, my raster effects go down to 72 pixels per inch, which, as I'm telling you, is generally a little bit low, and then align to pixel grid is set to yes instead of no. And so every single one of these presets comes with its own advanced settings, although you can always change your mind anytime you like just by twirling that option open. All right, but I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my print document right here. I'm going to change the raster effects settings to medium, and otherwise I'm going to leave these options the way they were. Although, as you can see here, I've just messed up everything else about the document, but it's easy enough to re-enter those settings. I'll just go ahead and change the number of artboards to 8. I'll change the spacing value to 24 points just by pressing the up arrow key a few times. I'll take the columns up to 4, and I'll go ahead and change my width to 6 inches by entering 6 double quote, and I'll change the height to 8 inches by entering 8 double quote, and then I'll go ahead and set my bleed values to 1p6, that is 1 pica and 6 points, which translates to a total of 18 points, as we're seeing here, after which point I'll go ahead and click OK in order to create that new document. And that's how you take advantage of the so-called advanced document settings found inside the new document dialog box here inside Illustrator.